Yo, we're on our final approach. Final approach. Got one more lap to go in 2022. Today, we're going to talk about like some stormy weather everywhere. We got a dealer on the show. We're talking about Cox's top 10 predictions. It'll be a good time. Promise. The people really want to know. Good time for a Thursday in that crazy week between Christmas and New Year's. I saw there's a New York Stern School professor, Scott Galloway. You may have heard of him. Brian Benstock is really like down with what he's doing. And he posted a graphic on LinkedIn, and it had a picture of like a calendar of December, and it was like really precise. And then as it got toward Christmas, it got all wrinkly. And then like the first year of January, it got all like crazy. You couldn't even see the days. And then like it got clear again in like the second week of January. I was like, perfect.
That's about right.
But we're still here. We're still here.
Great.
Dealers are still here. That's the thing about automotive.
Dealers are still here. Just
showing up, crushing it this week, right?
This is like I legitimately made it to work in 6 minutes this morning, which is typically like a 12 to 15 minute drive, depending on lights and traffic. So like the whole world is shut down and dealers like, we in it.
That's go. Right. All the time, every time. We have let's see. Hey, if you haven't watched the year-end extravaganza yet, we got it all chopped up. We're posting it a lot on LinkedIn and on our social media feed, just so you can see the little segments. But man, you can even watch it on your smart TV, right?
Yeah.
Just go to Sotu's YouTube channel, click on it. We uploaded the high-res version so you can watch it. It's fun family entertainment, I think.
It really is. It's good entertainment. And like one of the, we had someone share it from Reuters yesterday, just saying like, hey, look, there are real insights in here that are helping me plan, at Reuters.
Wait a minute.
2023.
Yeah. You're kidding me. How did I miss this?
Yeah. Like he was like, hey, listening to these people, thinking about what they're thinking about as we head into, he works in the event side of stuff. And so,
I missed that.
Yeah, I think it's just a reality that like the people in those positions. So if you go to ASOTube, ASOTU.be, you can find that. And then you can actually like, if you want to, you can go through the segments. We kind of broken it out so you can hit the little next button on the YouTube-ish.
Make sure you get to the game show.
Yeah, and make sure you watch the game show because it's absolutely fun. Hey, I just want to real quick, I know we got to get, we've got Matt Lasher here in just a minute. I just want to shout out CBT. They put out that they've been out for 10 years. Yeah. Kind of blew my mind. I was like, man, I just feel like they've been around for longer. They've just been in so much of auto and have been a big part of like me understanding the auto ecosystem. So to Jim and Bridget, if for some reason you see this, watch this, listen to this, maybe we'll cut it up. Congrats on 10 years. Big deal for the auto industry.
All done. Yeah. I mean, shoot, the CBT conference was my first like full real auto conference.
Wow.
I met a lot of people for the first time at their conference. So a lot to you all. Congratulations. The best, smiliest, Wheel of Fortuneist couple on automotive news. Love you guys. All right. We got a dealer. We have a dealer on, Matt Lasher from the West Herr Auto Group. Let's bring Matt in because we need to talk about Buffalo, New York. We haven't talked about the weather that much, because you're reading about the weather everywhere else. So we didn't have to talk, but Buffalo, in case you missed it, Buffalo has had a really rough go at this last weather situation. There have been a number of deaths. Even before this storm, you all got crushed with, 6 feet of snow in some of your areas. And the West Herr Group has just been leaning in to help the community. Specifically, a story got picked up by Business Insider about how you grabbed a payloader and used to drag generators around town and help shelters and all that. So, Matt, you look like you're in pretty good shape. You probably been out there shoveling snow, brooming off cars with the crew, but thanks for joining us for a few minutes. I'm sure you have things to do, but thanks for being here.
You got it.
What's the word on the ground?
Paul, Kyle, good to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
So what's the word on the street? How are things really looking from your perspective in Buffalo?
So first, I gotta say about Buffalo, we're getting a bad rap here. This is not good for like the marketing side of Buffalo, New York. It's 3 weeks in a row. We had 7 feet of snow 3 weeks ago, and then that all melted fast. And then, obviously the storm, obviously no joking matter. It was a pretty serious event. And it was serious for a lot of people in a lot of parts of the country as well, but it was really cold. It snowed for 3 days straight. And the worst part was like the winds and like the visibility was really challenging. So, especially in downtown Buffalo. So like Buffalo, New York has about 1 million people in it, but 300,000 or so live in Buffalo, New York. The streets are a little bit narrower. People park on the street because they might not have garages and things like that. So when it snows a lot, like snow plows have a hard time getting through some of these areas. The visibility was so bad that cars started to get abandoned, and even emergency responders, fire trucks, ambulances and stuff were getting stuck, which just created a mess, right? So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, it was a problem, and there was people unfortunately caught in their cars, caught in their homes without power or heat. Caught outside. I think a lot of the tragic stories that we're hearing, people just got caught in the elements, and succumbed to that. And I think we're up to like 35 people I heard had passed away. So, certainly our thoughts and prayers are with those families and everybody that's really suffering through the storm. But, by and large, like, while that's a national story, I don't think it tells the whole story because there's been tons of effort by people all over the community to just help people and, help your neighbor. Like if you have a snowplow, you like snowplow their driveway out. If, you have a shoveler, you can go get food and bring it to, the old lady that can't get to the store or whatever. Like there's been tons and tons of stories like that. But one I'm proud to share, the story you're mentioning. So Dr. Myron Glick created Jericho Road and the Vive Shelter. It's an asylum-seeking refugee shelter in Buffalo, New York. And Vive houses about 150 people, mostly women and children. And on Christmas Eve, the morning of Christmas Eve, they lost their power and heat. So Dr. Glick was pretty panicked. Now, we had started a relationship with them earlier in the year where Scott Beeler, our president and CEO, donated some money to help them move from where they are now, where they lost power and heat, to a newer, nicer building, nicer facility. So they're in process of doing that, but they haven't moved yet, right? And so, it's remarkable, when you learn about this organization and the people really that seek asylum, why they seek asylum from governments that maybe they were a politician in their country, a country in Africa, but they didn't agree with the dominant government. So they had to flee. They had to leave their family and they leave their, everything that they know and go on a year-long journey faced with violence and potential disruption. And, women and children are just especially hazardous. So, these guys have remarkable resiliency to even get to this shelter. But Christmas Eve, power goes out. Dr. Glick calls Scott. Scott taps our electrician, Simon Selly Electric. So shout out to Jack and Ed. They're the owners of Simon Selly Electric. They do all of our electric business for the 35 plus locations that we have. And they're incredible people, first of all, but they tried to tow a generator with just like a regular truck. And they couldn't get there. It was 20 miles away. They couldn't get there because of the storm. So they retreated. And then they got a bucket loader and towed it with the bucket loader the 20 miles that it had to go. It took them like 4.5 hours to go 20 miles in the storm. But they got there. They got it hooked up. They got the power and heat restored. And, ultimately, like, it's not West Herr that did that. Simon Selly Electric did that. But it's another example of people that have, like, done an incredible job helping the community, I think.
Why is West Herr mentioned in the news?
It's just connected. It's the connector, right? And I think that's one of the things that, like, what I know of West Herr and of you and of Scott is like connected in the community enough to know, like, when I get the call, I go to the right person and I know things are going to get handled because we're connected in the community and we care for the community, right?
But I also think it's a function of media, like the headlines and like the snippet journalism and stuff. Like people don't really get the full story of most things. You get like the 30 seconds.
I think we lost you for a second. Hold on, we froze him up. We'll see if we can get him back. He's going to jump in mid-sentence. Oh, he's gone. He'll come back in.
He is in Buffalo.
That's true. That's true. No, but I think what he's saying is right. And your point to the dealership being the connector and, like the news doesn't get the whole story, but you just think of the leverage a dealer has because they're so involved in the community on the regular, because they're the biggest ad spenders in all the TV stations that everybody enjoys watching, because they're major clients of, the electrical contractors and all the services around, like, because they're so plugged in when something needs to happen, right? A dealer picks up the phone and people move.
Yep.
Right.
That's
and
exactly what it is.
I mean, it's easy to forget that, but that's the truth. And I guess we see it like really big time in situations like this. And I know that's not an isolated story, right? West Herr obviously has big scale and they are just constantly in the community. But we know that when disaster strikes, we see it all the time. Local dealers mobilize like that.
Every time. Yeah. I mean, we have the benefit of like consistently searching to find those stories. And we like our writer Chris, he's like, yeah, sometimes he'll be like, yeah, I got about 10 days out of stories of dealers doing good, right?
Yeah.
And that's just like our network, which
Normal.
right now,
right,
as a part of automotive is like this big, right? That we can see and be connected to, whether it be on LinkedIn or stories or, and so like this is an anecdotal story, but it hit kind of national news, but it's anecdotal because it happens so often across the country in hard times. I mean, we look back at the hurricane and how many dealers were doing, we covered the Q Valley group raising six figures for hurricane relief. It's just over and over and over dealers participating in the community and being the community connector and drawing together others that then impact the community at a broader scale. So I think, like he said, a lot of times the headlines skew one way or the other, and maybe the relationship that someone has, puts West Herr on the front, but it was the electrician that really did the work. So shout out to the electrician that's just pitching.
Yeah, man.
And all of these, I think that this is the important part of just retail and small business in general is the fact that consistently small businesses show up to serve the community, and remembering that as we're like doing business and creating laws and caring for communities is really important. Let's see.
Without a doubt, Matt, we can bring, he's back in. Wow. He got out of the car. He's by the house now. He's doing way better. Can you see me? Oh, is he frozen again?
Oh no,
he's frozen again. His phone's probably. Oh, good. I think your phone's trying to decide if it wants to be on cellular or Wi-Fi right now.
It doesn't like it. Yeah, it doesn't like it. Look, but I'm sitting outside now to just prove a point. Buffalo ain't that bad. It's like 40 degrees, and
dog,
snow is gonna melt.
Where's your Bills hat?
Exactly. Let's go. Go Buffalo.
There's the thing, like Matt, and you see this every day because you go in every day to work, or just about every day. You get to move around the stores. You get to see a lot of people. Automotive is an industry where, if you're in the industry, regardless of what your position is, you should be able to walk into work every day, standing tall, knowing that sometimes the mundane minutia of, fixing or, being in the service drive or answering phone calls and email leads, sometimes the minutia of that can kind of take over. But the reality is you work in an industry that is constantly helping people, that is constantly ready to go when disaster strikes, that is constantly led by people who have their eyes up and out into the community, and they're giving resources, whether it's financial or, people resources, or we were just talking about why you weren't here, like connecting the dots, because, dealerships just invest so much into the community, whether that's just in, being, a big consumer of services and electricians and advertising spend. But I mean, like, people should feel proud every day.
Yeah, Scott Beeler, our leader, says all the time, the car business is a people business, and that's the best part about it. The amount of people you get to meet and interact with every day. And we're all in this together ultimately. Like, some people need help sometimes, and we're happy that we can do it. And we are a facilitator of a lot of those relationships. So, it's just a humbling thing, but you got to just appreciate each day and just be grateful for today. Right. And
that's right.
Yeah. A friend of mine, actually, a side note, has a hair salon, and the apartments above the hair salon had a water break. So, pipe burst and flooded her salon, and this is her business that took 10 years of her life to create and whatever. And they destroyed it over the weekend. And now she's working on trying to sort through that, and so everybody's just going through stuff in a variety of ways.
No doubt. Well, we got you here. So let's keep you on for a couple other stories. Speaking of dealing with stuff.
Stop. Segue.
Time. Oh, there we go. Let's see. So kind of in the vein of dealing with some inclement weather, Ford F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck owner was able to power his home in Ontario, Canada for 44 hours during a winter storm that left thousands without power, and still had 65% of his battery life when it was done. So he posted a picture on Reddit. I don't know if we have the picture, but he said, "This baby saved us." There it is. That's not the picture, but it's a picture. It kind of looked like that. It was from the back end. So, it had, I think these vehicles have 11 outlets with a 240 outlet in the back, and he powered lights, refrigerators, Wi-Fi. You need the Wi-Fi. That was probably the first thing he fired up. His television for almost 2 days until power was back. And, Ford kind of spoke about this, saying, "We're here to make an electric truck, not for the few, but for a lot of people that solves real problems." So I think this is we're going to see a lot more of this. And this is just timely that use your car to power your home and drive away from it. Have you ever been in an F-150 Lightning, Matt?
They're sweet.
Yeah, I haven't been in one. I don't think Kyle's been in one.
Fast.
No,
You know,
I haven't.
fast
I haven't
is
been.
Incredible.
I'm sure.
Have you delivered any? Like, how many have you guys sold?
I don't know the exact number, but
as many as you could get, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think it's like, I don't know, 10 or 15, something like that. It's not a ton, but the people really love them. But everybody is learning about batteries and like how they work in the winter and stuff like that. So it's an evolution. I don't know. I look at electric cars. You got to have a garage, dude. You got to have like a plug and stuff. You know what I mean? Like not everybody has a garage. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but it's a cool truck.
Yeah.
It's a cool truck. This is what blows my mind is that you can power a house for 44 hours and still have 65% of your battery left over, but it can still only go like a few hundred miles. So just the power that it takes to get a car moving as compared to everything that's going on in your house is pretty like that's a stark reality to me. It's kind of
for real. Like the range is like 300 miles, but it powered his house for 2 days. I mean, it didn't power his whole house, but enough of his house. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta move that thing.
That's just a wild proposition.
It really is. It really is. Speaking of propositions, we'll just keep moving.
Stop. Segue.
All right, we won't play the whole thing. All right, Cox Automotive has been releasing their top 10 predictions. I think they started in 2021, and they just released their 2023 list of predictions. We'll go through them here and see if we can get a little feedback from you, Matt, while we have you. But also Jonathan Smoke, who we all know, their chief economist, gave his team a B- for their predictions in 2022. We'll talk about those first because, they said they expected leasing to come back. It didn't happen. They also, predict that vehicle demand would remain strong and supply would gradually improve. And he says both of those predictions weren't entirely accurate. So he gave his team a B- for last year, which is pretty good, right? We're predicting the future. It's not bad. So, but they dropped the list of 2023. Kyle read through the list. He's like, these are kind of like, okay, I get it. And I was like, well, don't you want your economists to be conservative? Right? I think we want to be wild economists. So let's read the list. Number 1, a slow growing economy will place pressure on the automotive market. Number 2, new vehicle inventory levels will continue to increase. Number 3, total retail vehicle sales will fall in 2023 as new vehicle sales grow and used sales decline. Number 4, sales of electric vehicles will surpass 1 million units for the first time. So EVs going over 1 million. Number 5, used vehicle values will see above normal depreciation for the second straight year. Number 6, affordability will be the greatest challenge facing vehicle buyers. They should put that at the top. Number 7, all cash deals will increase to levels not seen in decades. Number 8, dealership service operations volume and revenue will climb. Number 9, half of buyers will engage in digital retailing tools. And number 10, federal incentives will encourage more fleet buyers to consider electrified solutions. Anything stand out on that list? I know, Matt, I'm looking at it. You're not, so I just shot him off.
No, I mean, the affordability issue, I think, is top of mind, certainly for me. But like, as I pay attention to the world, I think consumers are cash strapped. It's interesting. One of the other bullets was about all cash transactions.
Cash deals. Yeah.
We are seeing an uptick in that, partly, I think, driven by the higher interest rates. But most people don't have cash. Like, I think that's most people can't pay $1,000 bill or unexpected bill or whatever. So, some of that, I think that insight is focused maybe on the wealthy and not like the whole, population. But
when we were at NAMAD this year, both Jonathan Smoke and Mark Bland, so Jonathan Smoke Cox and Mark Bland with S&P Global, were kind of breaking this down, recognizing that the buying majority right now is so heavily swung in the wealthy that like literally people without cash or with that are living paycheck to paycheck or that are struggling in any way have not been struggled to purchase. They've just left the market altogether. And that the wider that chasm becomes, the harder and harder it will be for banks to finance because they don't have well-built portfolios as cash increases for wealthy buyers because they don't want to pay interest rates, right? Like interest rates are going to continue to climb on these, high interest loans. And so I think we are going to, it's going to be this like weird, bifurcated market, as some of the economists say, where like the wealthy continue to purchase, but at all cash purchases, and that people that struggle with vehicle affordability are going to struggle harder with it and continue to actually remove themselves from the market instead of just like pay higher payments.
Sometimes you don't have a choice though. Like you can't remove yourself from the market because you got to get to your job or whatever. Not everybody has public transportation available to them and stuff. So the challenge is $10,000 cars and now $20,000 cars, and I think that's like a big part of it. But yeah, I don't know about that electric. Well, actually, a lot of brands have a lot of cool EVs coming and stuff. So maybe that million number
over a million.
Yeah,
all going to be about production.
That seems ambitious.
Yeah. Can you make them?
Can you?
I mean, I think if you make them, they're sold.
Right.
I think if they can get them out, they're sold. Let's stay on affordability for a second because you have a unique perspective on that. A lot of people might not know that you and West Herr have developed an actual product called Streamline that helps with that placement of a customer on a vehicle that they can afford. So you do have a unique perspective. It is a big focus of yours. What would you say to dealers out there that, kind of see affordability as like a growing issue, and how would you kind of advise them?
Yeah, I just think it's about knowing your inventory and what's available to be financed, because you have to understand the lender programs as well. And, yes, Streamline, I won't plug that too hard here. It's not an infomercial, but
no, I plugged it because I think it's a dealer developed tool for a problem that you solve day in and day out. So I think there's a high level of relevancy to it.
Yeah. And, it's just a budget calculator. I lost you, I think. Or maybe
it's a budget calculator, you said.
Budget calculator, vehicle selection tool that helps salespeople and finance managers guide the process. So ultimately, I think there's opportunity to put deals together that sometimes dealers don't know how. So as a sales manager, I would often come across a customer with $10,000 negative equity, and I wouldn't know how to put a deal together. I would walk them politely. I would say, hey, thanks for coming in. Come back in 6 months. But there might be a way to put a deal together if the math behind it. So, that's kind of really what Streamline helps solve for. But it's really about just being empathetic and a human. We're all in this together, right? And like, just because one person makes more money than another doesn't make them better or whatever. So it's about treating everybody, I think, with fairness and kindness and, appreciating their struggles.
Let's go.
Yo,
I'm down with that.
Wrap it on that. Let's
go.
We
are going to wrap it on that. Well, went a little long today, but for good reason. We had Matt Lasher on the show. Matt, best of luck to you and the team as you continue to serve Buffalo. And if you're out there, people are counting on you to serve them. And we still got a couple days left this year, so go do it.